On behalf of my Chuti Nathaniel Peligro of St. Cecil, we want to talk about our support to society's acceptance towards the third gender. As what someone once said, we were all humans until race disconnected us, religion separated us, politics divided us, and wealth classified us. Because of the influence of religion and the stereotype of man and woman relationship, people tend to think that loving the same sex is great sin. And this idea had been passed on from generation to generation. Homosexuality is seen to be bad to the devoted Christians because it was said in the Bible that if two men sleep together, they should be put to death. That is why several conservative countries make strict punishments when it comes to the people who gets out of the closet. Examples of countries who follow strict rules are Algeria, Bahrain, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Qatar, and Syria. Their penalty is imprisonment, up to 10 years or more. In those that have no specific law against homosexuality, gay people may still be prosecuted under other laws. In Egypt, for example, an old law against debauchery is often used. The problem with such laws, even if not enforced, is that they signal official disapproval of homosexuality and link with the protest of religious scholars, discrimination by individuals on an everyday level, and may also provide an excuse for action by vigilantes. One reason for the small number of prosecutions is the fiction that gay people don't exist to any area in Muslim countries, that it is regarded primarily as a Western phenomenon, and large numbers of arrests would call that into question. These laws have a catastrophic effect on the lives of people who are unlucky enough to get caught, but despite occasional crackdowns, the authorities don't, on the whole, actively seek out gay people to arrest them. Even some Islamic men hide their homosexuality to prevent these. Thus, such countries have low rate of persecution of the gays. Also, what is the result of this conservative idea that I said before? Discrimination. An example of such discrimination is a survey that showed 63% of the transgenders being discriminated by bullying, physical and sexual assault, eviction, denial of medical service, all because of bias. Thus, this situation will have a major impact on a person's quality of life and ability to sustain themselves financially or emotionally. Some members of the LGBT group are marginalized not only in society but in their homes and families on account of their gender. Some families reject their children when they know they belong to a third gender. They have to encounter verbal abuse, psychological, and sometimes physical violence in their homes first and later in society. In schools, students and teachers treat them differently, and children are forced to give up studies. That's why they contemplate about their life as the biggest mistake and remorse they ever had. These can be pretty devastating and have long-term consequences, like the testimony of an anonymous victim. I was kicked out of my house and out of college when I was 18. I became a street hooker, thief, drug abuser, and drug dealer. When I reflect back, it's a miracle that I survived. I had so many close calls. I could have been murdered, committed suicide, contracted AIDS, or fatally overdosed. You see, certainty results to war. What we mean is that if you're certain that the homosexuals, bisexuals, or etc. will all go to hell, that ideology will result to conflict. A conflict between people who accept this kind of people versus people who despise them. We are not certain if God is willing to let a queer enter heaven. No one knows what really is the truth behind it. Despite that, we should feel what they feel. Imagine being in their shoe. Imagine losing your home, your job, and your children, or being bullied by a teacher or be sexually assaulted because of your gender identity. These compounding acts of discrimination due to the prejudice of others rapidly increase the difficulty of bouncing back and reestablishing a stable economic and home life. And of course, that would make us miserable, lonely, and isolated in this cruel type of world. And as a human, you don't want that to happen even to others. By accepting these kind of persons to our world, we are giving them the chance to be themselves, a chance to prove that they could function as a normal human being and not a person who has a dangerous disease, as what many people think. I mean, is it their fault or is it the issues of society that compel them to curse their births? 21st century is a period of acceptance, from the rise of the blacks to the freedom of the queers. And no matter how heavy your heart is, you have to welcome them, because no matter what you do, you will still lose by a strong community of brave people. And I think that's all, and thanks for watching.